house on Rock Island. Well, it is Thursday, September 5th, 2024, a little after 7 o'clock in the morning. Up the anchor a little while ago in Washington Harbor on Washington Island. Not feeling terribly good about the day today. We had 3, 4, 5 options. None of them were particularly appealing. Got a front moving through. Winds are fairly stiff out of the south-southwest today, as they have been for the last couple of days. And originally they were forecast to, well, the forecast changed a little bit, but they were going to make a sudden 180-degree shift after the frontal passage from south to north, basically. So we had to leave this anchorage. It's not protected. And where to go? And there's not much on Green Bay that will protect you from a northerly blow. Horseshoe Island is about the only one, and I think there's only about room for 1 or 2 boats in there. So, and we're probably not the only ones who would be seeking refuge somewhere. Sturgeon Bay, of course. Then we considered Bailey's Harbor on the east side of the Dora Peninsula. The other possibility was just to bite the bullet and sail into the night through the frontal passage, but land in Manitowoc in the wee hours of the morning and miss the worst of the winds out of the north. It's still going to get pretty lumpy out there, and it's all going to happen in the evening hours now, it sounds like. So we're going to go through Death's Door, beat to windward until the wind shifts, and then run before it until we get to Manitowoc. Michelle wants me to get the bluffs over there. They are pretty. So anyway, this is what we opted for. With any luck at all, within 20 hours we'll be tied up safely in Manitowoc, so probably less. My original estimate was 100 miles. It looks like our route is actually just a little over 90, and I always flight plan at 5 knots. I suspect we're going to do a little bit better than that, but we are going to be beating the windward today. We're going to be tacking a little bit before the wind shifts, so we're going to lose some time and ground doing that. And that's the northwest tip of Washington Island. The bluffs there, also very pretty. So our option, if we didn't do this tonight, besides holing up somewhere partway back to Manitowoc, or just moving to the south side of Washington Island and anchoring there where we had some protection, was that we don't have any favorable winds to sail for nearly a week if the forecast holds up. So we'd have to motor all the way 100 miles back to Manitowoc. This will allow us to do some sailing. And shall we say, challenging conditions. But at least we won't have to motor the whole way. And we do kind of need to get back. We can't afford to wait a week. We definitely have to wait a couple of days after this front passes before we could go anywhere, wherever we hold up. Well, we've been away from the anchorage now for just a little over an hour. We're in Death's Door. Got one of the ferries over there, another one past going back to the island. Detroit Island over here, and Washington Island back there. And it was kind of looking like we might have a good enough angle to sail through Death's Door, something I've wanted to do and have been foiled at every attempt so far. I wasn't...
Including today.
What's that?
Including today.
Including today, yeah. It didn't look like we're going to have a good enough angle, which is a little bothersome because if we're going to beat the windward, it means we're going to have to, well, sail way out into the lake. I always overestimate this boat's ability to point to windward, and consequently I'm always disappointed. So anyway, and that's true of every boat we've ever owned. I've never had a boat that points very well to windward, so I should be used to it.
So we got the sails up close to 9, just a little after, or got our tack settled, I guess, a little after. We're on a starboard tack. We've got 69 miles to get to Raleigh Point. Bill says we're going to go out here an hour and see where we're at, and probably tack the other direction. I'm just grateful we're not going backwards, because I thought we might be. And it's a good thing we have a bimini with the isinglass, because otherwise we'd be wet.
I still got wet.
Bill still got wet. Oh, not quite.
We've been having all those impressive seas until I turned the camera on every time. Sitting here once again regretting my decisions. There's actually a trawler out there. There's at least one other guy dumb enough to be out here today, doing the same thing we are, I imagine, trying to get as far down the lake before this cold front hits. When we got out of Death's Door, we started making the turn southward, and seas weren't that big yet. We were actually making pretty good progress motoring into them, and we contemplated continuing motoring, but because we abhor it, we decided to go ahead and start beating to windward. So we took our first tack out into the lake about an hour and a half, 8 miles or so, 9 miles. And I'm always very optimistic about how well the boat will point. And when we got to a point where we decided to start our tack back towards shore, it was terrible. 3.5 hours on the 2 tacks would have gained us about 5 miles along the Door County shore. So you can do the math. That's not a hell of a lot over 1 knot. Knot and a half, whatever, a little over a knot and a half. So to do the remaining 80 some odd miles down to Manitowoc would have taken a mere 80 hours. Well, 60. Of course, the wind is supposed to shift today. There's been no evidence of that yet. By now, it was supposed to be veering to the west, and it's actually freshened out of a more southerly direction than it was before. It was somewhat southwesterly, and now it's almost due south. So I have a feeling that we're not going to enjoy that 2, 3, 4 hours of westerly wind that they were forecast. I suspect it's going to go from south to north violently. And now, although possibility of thunderstorms were in the forecast, they were supposed to be a slight chance, none severe. We just got an update on the weather, and now there's a fast-moving line of thunderstorms headed our way, producing hail, frequent lightning, and what was the other caveat? Anyway, so here we are. So anyway, the long and short of it is 1.5 plus knots was inadequate for us, so we dropped the sails. We're doing what we should have done when the seas were a little more modest this morning, and motored toward our destination until we had a favorable wind. And that never fails. I've talked to... What's that? Oh, yeah, and the wind indicator broke again. It had quit working the other day, and then it just started working again for the rest of the day. It was working again this morning, but it quit again, so I don't expect to get it back this time. Loose connection somewhere, or it's about to poop the bed. Or it has pooped the bed for good. Anyway, now that's enough. So it is about 2:15 in the afternoon on Thursday, September 5th, 2024. I don't remember what I filmed last, but we had tacked a couple of times. We're not gaining much ground, and decided to motor so we can make a little headway so we get into Manitowoc before it's too awful late. And The winds, well, the line of thunderstorms moved through. We did hear thunder a couple of times, saw a flash of lightning about 2.5, 3 miles away. Never saw the bolt, so I think it was cloud to cloud. And I'm not sure we're done with the thunderstorms. We may get more yet, but it's looking pretty light to the west, which is a good sign. And the winds are veering. We're getting something a little more westerly now, although fairly light. We're going to keep motoring even though we're still crashing into these big rollers from left over from this morning. And then in about 5 hours, everything's going to get whipped up enough again out of the north that they've issued a small craft advisory. And make it tough on us getting on the dock at 12:30 in the morning. Anything to add, hon? That's it. What's that?
Meat and cheese for a snack.
Yeah, and a little bit of meat and cheese for a snack. Michelle's leaning against one of the immersion suits. When it became obvious that we were going to encounter a thunderstorm, we got the dish bag all ready and got the immersion suits out.
Well, Iron Mike this morning said, oh, there's a possibility of rain showers.
Rain showers and a slight chance of thunderstorms, none expected to be severe, or something like that.
And then 2 hours later, he's talking about water spouts and lightning storms.
Yeah, and a fast moving line of thunderstorms with frequent lightning and hail and fire and brimstone. And
so we're prepared.
so anyway, yeah, we thought, well, we better get prepared. I certainly don't want to get struck by lightning, but worse than replacing a bunch of electrical components is having a hole blown in the hull of your boat, and the thing goes down in a matter of minutes. So anyway, we were prepared for that possibility, as prepared as we could get anyway. Anyway, there's Michi. Say hey, Michi. Well, it is 5:31 on September 5th, 2024, Thursday, and the wind finally veered and stayed. It was just right on the ragged edge of being able to sail without pinching. We know this boat well enough now what we can and can't get away with, and we also know after 7 years sailing up here that whatever we're seeing at the moment, no matter how long we give it to stabilize, as soon as we get some sail on her or do any trimming or anything like that, we regret it. Because it changes, because it's the Truman Show. Ed Harris is up there watching what we're doing and then throws us a curveball. So anyway, we finally decided we're feeling really guilty about motoring as much as we were, so we finally got a little sail on her. It was not a mistake, except that I swear, not 5 minutes after, it started gusting up to 25. So we started trying to take in some sail. We started spilling air out of the sails at first. We're just about to reef the jib, and the main is already reefed. I started with a reefed main, and the winds abated a little bit. We're back down to something a little more comfortable. So anyway, about 25 miles from the possible waypoint, Raleigh Point. We've been there before. Today, when we started out, it was what, 60 or 70 miles to that waypoint. So we've been very slowly watching that clock tick down. So at this pace, we'll probably be there in about just over 3 hours, if we can keep it up. And then another hour to Manitowoc. That can't be right. That can't be right. No, that can't be. Yeah, well, we're doing 7.5 knots now. We're doing 5.5 to 6 most of the day. So yeah, the numbers are undeniable. About 3.5 hours to Raleigh Point, and then another hour to 4.5 hours, and it's 5:30, so 10 o'clock. Yeah. Anyway, well, a lot could change. We've been plowing into head-on seas with the change in wind and laid down those seas, and we're now running more or less parallel to the seas. So anyway, anything to add, hon? That is all. Well, I'm sure the witch's fingernail out there won't show up on this. Beautiful sunset, and of course by the sound it's obvious that we're back on the engine. I think we only got about an hour of sailing in before the wind pooped on us again. So anyway, about a couple hours away from Manitowoc. Looking forward to getting in. We're supposed to get that big wind shift here in about an hour. It's supposed to start blowing like hell out of the north. It'd be nice if they missed that forecast, but of course that would be in our favor, so we know we can take that one to the bank. But that's probably about it for the 2024 sailing season.